Commander Elena Reyes couldn't tear her eyes from the view screen as the diplomatic shuttle disintegrated in a blinding flash. Seconds earlier, her fiancé, Captain David Chen, had been smiling, reporting successful first contact protocols with the approaching alien vessels. "Transmission recovered, Commander," her communications officer whispered, face ashen. "Final telemetry shows they never even slowed their weapons charge cycle during our greeting." Elena's hands gripped the command chair as Lunar Defense Station Armstrong shuddered under the first bombardment. Klaxons screamed through the command center. Through the viewport, she watched as 3 more shuttles, packed with Earth's brightest diplomats and xenolinguists, were methodically vaporized as they attempted to establish communication. "They're not here to talk," she said, her voice steady despite the hollow ache spreading through her chest. "Evacuation protocol, Sierra. Get everyone to the emergency transports." The Vrex assault had begun without warning or apparent motive. Their ships, biomechanical constructs resembling massive iridescent beetles, had appeared beyond Neptune's orbit just 72 hours earlier. Earth's unified response had been textbook, caution tempered with diplomatic overtures. "All for nothing, ma'am," her XO shouted over the chaos. "Direct hits on levels 3 through 17. Primary life support failing." Elena pulled up the tactical display as another blast rocked the station. Through the crackling emergency channel, similar reports flooded in from outposts across the lunar surface. Not random destruction. The Vrex were systematically targeting command centers, communication arrays, and defense installations with surgical precision. "They'd studied us," she realized aloud. "This isn't first contact. They've been watching." The command center ceiling ruptured, atmosphere venting in a violent rush that pulled 2 officers into the void before emergency force field patches engage. Elena unbuckled from her chair, pulling her XO toward the evacuation corridor. "We have 90 seconds before the reactor containment fails," she shouted over the dying station's groans. "Get as many people to the hangars as possible." They fought their way through buckling corridors, dragging injured personnel toward the escape craft. Through observation ports, Elena glimpsed Earth, beautiful and oblivious in the distance. Then her blood froze as the Vrex armada reoriented, their weapons now targeting her homeworld. The prototype stealth shuttle wasn't meant for atmospheric entry, but Elena had no choice. With 37 survivors crammed into a craft designed for 20, she piloted the experimental vessel away from the dying station. The shuttle's stealth systems were their only hope. Technology that even most of Earth's military didn't know existed, developed in the shadow scientific community since the Roswell incident. As they plunged toward Earth, the first impacts began. City killers struck metropolitan centers with terrifying precision. Beijing, New York, Moscow, Lagos. From orbit, it looked like someone lighting matches across the planet's dark side. "They think we're prey," Elena whispered, tears evaporating in the superheated air surrounding their desperate descent. "They've never met humans before." The shuttle crashed through Earth's atmosphere, its experimental heat shields barely holding. Elena's mind raced beyond grief into cold, crystalline fury. She thought of David's last smile, of the billions below who had no idea what was coming. The Vrex had made a fatal miscalculation. They had revealed their existence not with diplomacy but with overwhelming force, expecting submission. They would learn differently. Humanity had never been good at surrendering. 3 months into the occupation, Tokyo's ruins stood as a monument to systematic destruction. Elena pressed herself against crumbling concrete as a Vrex harvester patrol skittered past, their segmented limbs clicking on debris-strewn streets. She'd infiltrated the processing camp perimeter 2 hours ago with a 5-person team. All that remained of what had once been special forces. Target building 50 meters ahead. She whispered into her throat mic. "Remember, observation only. We confirm the rumors and extract." The rumors were almost too horrific to believe. Human processing centers, where the Vrex conducted biomass harvesting operations. Intelligence had been fragmented since the invasion, with surviving military units scattered across underground bunkers worldwide. Communication reduced to brief encrypted bursts through salvaged equipment. They reached the facility, once the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, now grotesquely modified with chitinous growths and pulsing organic technology. Through gaps in the structure, Elena witnessed the unthinkable. Hundreds of humans suspended in translucent pods, their bodies slowly dissolving as extraction tendrils siphoned specific biological compounds. "They're not just killing us," muttered her sergeant, a former Australian SAS operator. "They're harvesting something specific." A shriek of alien harmonics erupted behind them. Ambush. 3 Vrex drones had circled behind their position, mandibles clicking in what Elena had come to recognize as their communication pattern. Her team scattered, firing experimental pulse weapons that barely penetrated the aliens' exoskeletons. "Fall back to extraction point Delta," Elena shouted, emptying her weapon into the nearest drone. The alien staggered but kept advancing, its carapace resealing the damage almost immediately. Then something unexpected happened. A hail of small projectiles struck the Vrex from the opposite direction, the impacts accompanied by a strange blue electrical discharge. The aliens convulsed, their coordinated movements suddenly jerky and uncoordinated. From the shadows emerged figures in makeshift armor crafted from scavenged materials, led by a gaunt Japanese man wielding what looked like a modified electrical transformer connected to a handheld launcher. "This way," he called in accented English. Quickly, before their systems recalibrate. Elena hesitated only momentarily before signaling her team to follow. They descended through a maze of collapsed subway tunnels, eventually emerging inside a flooded subterranean research station that bore Japanese maritime insignia. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka. The man introduced himself once they were secure. Former quantum physicist at JAXA, now reluctant weapons developer. He showed Elena his workshop, a miracle of improvisation. Scattered across workbenches were dismantled pieces of Vrex technology, alongside human components never designed to integrate with alien systems. They believed their technology beyond our comprehension, Tanaka explained, holding up what looked like a modified satellite dish. But all technology, even alien, follows universal principles. Their shields operate on quantum resonance fields, and every field has a frequency that disrupts it. Elena watched in amazement as he demonstrated, causing a salvaged piece of Vrex armor to temporarily lose its self-repairing properties when struck with his modified weapon. "We need rare earth elements to scale this," Tanaka continued. "Deposits exist worldwide, but extracting them under Vrex occupation." Elena's mind raced with possibilities. "I have contacts with resistance cells across 5 continents," she said. "If we coordinate simultaneous raids." High above them, in the Vrex command carrier maintaining low orbit, the Queen Commander received disturbing biometric readings from her ground forces. These humans were adapting faster than any species they'd encountered in millennia of conquest. For the first time, uncertainty entered the hive mind. The resistance bunker beneath Geneva buzzed with nervous energy as final preparations for Operation Hornet's Nest neared completion. Elena studied the global tactical display, a patchwork of data streams from surviving military assets worldwide. Tanaka's shield disruption technology had been successfully distributed to major resistance cells on 6 continents. Timing would be everything. "Commander," a communications specialist called. "Encrypted transmission from Colonel Santos in Buenos Aires. They've secured the satellite uplink station." Elena nodded grimly. The pieces were falling into place, but something felt wrong. Security protocols had been airtight, yet subtle patterns in recent Vrex patrol movements suggested foreknowledge. "Where's Major Donovan?" she asked suddenly, noticing her second-in-command's absence from the command center. A cold silence fell across the room. Donovan had been with her since the lunar evacuation, one of the few who knew all aspects of the operation. Elena's instincts screamed danger moments before the alarms blared. She reached for her sidearm as Donovan stumbled through the blast doors, his movements unnaturally stiff, eyes wild with terror and something else, a metallic gleam beneath the skin around his temples. "They're in my head," he gasped, fighting for control of his own body. "They found me last patrol, implanted something." His hand jerked toward a concealed weapon, movements puppet-like. Elena fired first, 2 shots center mass. As Donovan collapsed, the skin along his spine split open, revealing pulsing Vrex biotechnology fused with his nervous system. "They're assimilating us," Tanaka whispered, kneeling beside the body. "Absorbing human knowledge, tactical training." "Move up the timeline," Elena ordered, her voice steel. "Launch Hornet's Nest now, 12 hours ahead of schedule." Across the solar system, ancient defense platforms stirred to life. During the Cold War, Earth's superpowers had secretly deployed nuclear-armed satellites disguised as space debris, a doomsday fail-safe forgotten by most of humanity. Their primitive technology, ironically, rendered them invisible to sophisticated Vrex sensors calibrated to detect advanced energy signatures. The Vrex Queen Commander stood on her flagship's bridge, mandibles twitching in satisfaction as her assimilation operatives transmitted human defense plans. The primitives' counterattack, scheduled for the following day, would be crushed before it began. Her species had conquered hundreds of worlds using this strategy: infiltrate, assimilate, annihilate. The first nuclear detonation caught her completely unprepared. Antiquated satellites, their Cold War nuclear payloads enhanced with Tanaka's shield disruption technology, detonated in precise sequence around major Vrex vessels. Earth's resistance fighters emerged simultaneously from hidden bunkers worldwide, wielding modified weapons that exploited the suddenly vulnerable Vrex exoskeletons. Elena led the assault team that breached the Queen Commander's flagship, fighting through suddenly disorganized Vrex defenders. The aliens' movements became erratic as their hive mind communications fractured under the simultaneous assault. In the flagship's core, Elena planted the experimental quantum disruptor designed to completely sever the Vrex neural network. As she armed the device, a royal guard burst through the chamber doors, moving with disturbing familiarity. The alien mirrored her combat stance precisely, anticipating her attack patterns. "They've already assimilated our combat training," she realized, switching to improvised movements from her childhood martial arts classes. As she fought for her life, the countdown continued. Operation Hornet's Nest would succeed, but Elena now understood the Vrex were more dangerous than anyone had realized. They weren't just invaders, they were becoming human. Spinal reconstruction complete. Neural integration at 73%. The medical officer reported as Elena regained consciousness. The Royal Guard's final attack had shattered her vertebrae before the quantum disruptor activated. 3 weeks had passed since Operation Hornet's Nest. The Vrex fleet had retreated in disarray after their neural network collapsed, but not before launching a devastating final strike against Earth's major population centers. 2 billion casualties and counting. Elena tried to sit up, gasping as unfamiliar sensations flooded her nervous system. Her spine felt wrong. "Alien. We had no choice," Tanaka explained from her bedside. "Your injuries were fatal. We used salvaged Vrex biotechnology to rebuild your spine." She stared at the medical scans, iridescent filaments now intertwined with her spinal cord, spreading delicate tendrils throughout her nervous system. "How much of me is still human?" she whispered. "Your mind remains entirely your own," Tanaka assured her. "But you may experience sensory anomalies." The anomalies began that night: flashes of alien landscapes, fractured communications from distant Vrex, and most disturbing, a constant pull toward Jupiter. Against medical advice, Elena resumed command of humanity's hastily assembled pursuit fleet 3 days later. No one else understood the Vrex as she now did. The armada they launched was unprecedented, a bizarre collection of retrofitted cruise ships, weaponized space stations, and the few military vessels that had survived the invasion. As they approached Jupiter, Elena's hybrid nervous system buzzed with alien sensations. "They're there," she announced, pointing to Jupiter's far side before their sensors detected anything. The Vrex presence was larger than anyone had imagined. A massive factory hive had anchored itself within Jupiter's upper atmosphere, converting the gas giant's resources into biological weapons specifically designed to target human DNA. The enormous structure pulsed with malevolent purpose, surrounded by defensive platforms that dwarfed Earth's largest warships. "We're outgunned by orders of magnitude," Admiral Cheng stated bluntly during the Emergency War Council. A direct assault would be suicide. Elena remained silent, strange visions cascading through her mind. Through her partial connection to their hive mind, she perceived the factory structure, its weaknesses. "Jupiter's great red spot," she said suddenly. "It's an anticyclonic storm with electromagnetic properties the Vrex are harvesting. But the storm is unstable." She outlined a desperate plan involving the captured Vrex mining drone they'd been studying. By redirecting it into the Great Red Spot's vortex at precisely the right moment, they could trigger a cascade reaction in Jupiter's stormy atmosphere, a planet-sized electromagnetic pulse. Their entire biological electronic interface would temporarily shut down, she concluded. "How can you know this?" Cheng challenged. Elena met his gaze steadily. "Because part of me is them now." The fleet launched a doomed frontal assault, a sacrifice play to draw Vrex attention, while Tanaka remotely piloted the mining drone toward the storm. Elena led the charge in a modified fighter, experiencing disorienting flashes of both human and Vrex perspectives during combat. As the mining drone plunged into Jupiter's churning clouds, electromagnetic chaos erupted across the Jovian system. The factory hive went dark, its biological components suddenly dormant. Victory, but not complete. As Elena's fighter limped back toward the fleet, her hybrid senses detected thousands of escape pods jettisoning from the disabled factory, streaking toward deep space. The tide had turned, but the war was far from over. The United Earth Council chamber fell silent as Elena concluded her proposal. 6 months had passed since the Jupiter operation, and her appearance had subtly changed. Iridescent patterns shimmered beneath her skin when she moved, and her eyes reflected light like polished copper. "You're suggesting we pursue the Vrex across interstellar space," General Mbeki stated flatly. "With what?" "Our fleet was decimated at Jupiter." "With this," Tanaka interjected, unveiling a cylindrical device pulsing with blue-green energy, a working faster-than-light drive reverse-engineered from the Jupiter wreckage. The council erupted in chaos. Elena remained still, filtering the cacophony of voices through her enhanced senses. The Vrex implants had continued to integrate with her nervous system, granting capabilities beyond human norm, but causing disturbing side effects. Vivid hallucinations of alien memories, sensory overloads, moments of dissociation. "The nearest Vrex colony is 4.3 light-years from Earth," she continued once order was restored. "I can navigate us there." 3 weeks later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's first interstellar warship. 4 other vessels comprised their small fleet, each retrofitted with experimental FTL drives that Tanaka warned had a 20% chance of catastrophic failure. The journey took 11 days subjective time. Elena spent most of it in a semi-conscious state, her hybrid biology serving as a living navigational system. The alien memories flooding her consciousness became more coherent, glimpses of Vrex evolution, conquest cycles, and most disturbing, evidence of external control by entities the collective consciousness referred to only as the Shapers. They emerged from FTL above a blue-green world teeming with Vrex life signs. Initial scans revealed no major defensive systems. This was not a military outpost, but a colony of juveniles and non-warriors, genetically programmed to terraform conquered worlds. "Optimal orbital bombardment pattern calculated," the weapons officer reported. "Awaiting your command to avenge Earth's billions." Elena stared at the view screen, her enhanced perception detecting something wrong in the colony's biological signatures. "No, we're going down there. I need to see for myself." The landing party discovered a nightmare. thousands of Rex juveniles mindlessly reshaping the planet's ecosystem, their behavior more automatic than conscious. When they captured a Rex geneticist attempting to destroy research facilities, Alina's suspicions were confirmed. "You understand now," the alien said in halting English, its mandibles clicking in distress. "We are not conquerors by choice but tools, bioweapons created by the primordials." Through a combination of interrogation and her growing ability to interface with Rex biology, Alina uncovered the terrible truth. The entire Rex species had been genetically engineered eons ago by entities known only as the primordials. Each invasion followed a predetermined biological script, with no individual truly possessing free will. "We are as much victims as the worlds we destroy," the geneticist explained. Before Alina could fully process this revelation, Tanaka burst into the interrogation chamber, his face ashen. Analysis of captured communication nodes had revealed something terrifying. The Vrex were merely advanced scouts for their creators. Their defeat had triggered an automated distress signal. "Something is coming," Tanaka whispered. "Something ancient and vastly more powerful than the Vrex, and we just got its attention." "Their language shares structural patterns with ours," Alina said, studying the alien symbols etched into what appeared to be ceremonial monuments. The Vrex geneticist had provided coordinates to Nerix, a devastated world 8 light-years from Earth, where a species called the Call still survived after centuries of Vrex occupation. Initial contact had been tense. The squid-like Call, reduced to pre-industrial technology by their conquerors, had retreated into vast underwater caverns. When Alina's team appeared in their sacred meeting chamber, the Call elders had initially mistaken humans for new primordial enforcers. "Your biology," the lead elder gurgled through his translation device, appendages gesturing toward Alina. "You carry the Vrex within you, yet you remain yourself. This is unprecedented." Alina demonstrated her unique hybrid physiology, interfacing directly with Call technology that contained elements of salvaged Vrex components. The resulting data exchange caused her to collapse, overwhelmed by a flood of alien knowledge. Star maps revealing dozens of subjugated species across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. "The primordials don't just conquer," she explained to her team when she recovered. "They reshape entire species for specific purposes." The Vrex themselves were once peaceful hive creatures before genetic tampering turned them into perfect invasion machines. The Call History Keeper unfurled an ancient holographic display showing the galaxy as it existed millennia ago, a balanced ecosystem of civilizations before the primordials began their systematic conquest. Most chilling was the evidence that many conquered races had been modified into specialized biological tools, each serving specific functions in the primordial agenda. Word of humanity's successful resistance spread quickly. Within weeks, representatives from 7 fallen civilizations converged on Nerix, each bringing fragments of knowledge about their oppressors. Alina found herself at the center of a fragile alliance, her hybrid nature making her uniquely capable of bridging biological and cultural barriers. The fledgling coalition faced its first major crisis when a Vrex liberation faction arrived seeking asylum. These were individuals whose genetic programming had partially failed, allowing limited free will. Their appearance triggered violent opposition from species who had suffered under Vrex occupation for generations. "They slaughtered billions across 100 worlds," hissed a reptilian Saurine ambassador. "And now we should welcome them as allies." Elena stood between the factions as tempers flared. Assassins from both sides targeted her, some seeing her as a Vrex sympathizer, others as a threat to Vrex survival. During one attempt on her life, her hybrid reflexes activated autonomously, allowing her to disarm 3 attackers simultaneously. "I understand your hatred," she addressed the assembled delegates afterward. "But the Vrex were weapons, not architects. We faced the same enemy, those who built them to destroy us all." The diplomatic summit teetered on collapse until long-range sensors detected massive spatial distortions at the galaxy's edge. The primordial response had arrived far sooner than anyone anticipated. a fleet of crystalline vessels so enormous they warped light around them. The Alliance had run out of time for debate. As former enemies looked to her for leadership, Alina realized humanity's trial by fire had only been a prelude to a greater conflict, one that would determine the fate of all biological life in the galaxy. The Alliance fleet conducted desperate jumps through uncharted star systems, staying barely ahead of the primordial armada. With each transition, Alina's Vrex implants inadvertently tapped into ancient communication channels, giving her fragmentary glimpses of the enemy pursuing them. "They're not organic," she reported during the Emergency War Council. "The primordials evolved in the vacuum of space billions of years ago, crystalline entities that perceive planetary life as nothing but raw material to be harvested and weaponized." The fleet's scientists struggled to understand her descriptions, beings composed of latticed silicates that existed primarily in 11-dimensional space, for whom the visible universe was merely a shadow of their true domain. "We can't outrun them forever," Admiral Cheng observed grimly. "Every jump depletes our antimatter reserves." On Earth, now bristling with defensive technology from 7 alien civilizations, Tanaka worked feverishly with a team of xenobiologists, including the Vrex geneticist. They focused on analyzing Alina's hybrid biology, the only successful integration of human and Vrex systems ever documented. The implants should have overtaken her consciousness. The Vrex geneticist clicked in wonderment. "Our biotechnology is designed to subsume host nervous systems, yet her neural pathways have instead modified our components." Through quantum entanglement communications, Tanaka shared his findings with Alina. "Your human nervous system has naturally altered the Vrex implants in ways the primordials never anticipated," he explained. "You've developed resistance to their control signals." The discovery suggested a radical possibility: a targeted virus that could sever the primordials' control over their bioengineered armies by introducing human genetic adaptability. The implementation, however, required direct infiltration of the primordial command node. "The transmission must come from your unique biology," Tanaka concluded. "Nothing else bridges both worlds." As the primordial armada, ships the size of small moons, entered the solar system, Earth's combined defenses opened fire. The crystalline vessels absorbed the energy weapons, growing stronger with each attack. Conventional nuclear warheads passed through their partially phased hulls without detonating. Alina recorded final messages to her loved ones before assembling a suicide squad of volunteers from every allied species, each with personal vendettas against their former oppressors. "We need to get to their command node," she briefed the team. "But their sensors will detect any approach." The liberated Vrex faction offered a terrifying solution: partial assimilation of the volunteers to disguise them as newly conquered specimens being transported for primordial inspection. "It would be temporary," their leader assured Alina. "Just enough to mask your life signs." The procedure was excruciating. Alina watched her team members writhe as Vrex biotechnology merged with their bodies, their eyes reflecting the same copper hue as hers when the process completed. For the other species, this was their first experience with assimilation. For Alina, it was a deepening of her existing hybrid state, pushing her consciousness toward an alien perspective that threatened to subsume her humanity entirely. As Earth's defenses crumbled before the primordial onslaught, their disguised transport slipped past the crystalline fleet. Alina sensed the vast, cold intelligence directing the invasion, ancient beyond comprehension, and utterly devoid of empathy for the biological life it had been harvesting for eons. The final phase of humanity's desperate counterattack had begun. The primordial command vessel defied conventional physics, a construct larger than Earth's moon with architecture that seemed to fold through dimensions humans couldn't perceive. Alina's strike team, their bodies now grotesquely modified with Vrex biotechnology, moved through its crystalline corridors like specimens in a cosmic zoo. "Stay focused on your human memories," Alina whispered through their neural link. "The assimilation affects cognition first." 2 team members were lost immediately when their partially Vrex biology triggered automated defense systems, their bodies dissolving into component atoms before they could scream. The survivors pressed deeper, guided by Alina's hybrid senses toward the vessel's command core. 3 more sacrificed themselves, creating diversions at critical junctions, their final thoughts broadcasting through the team's shared consciousness. Images of devastated homeworlds, murdered families, and defiant hope that their deaths would mean something. The command core pulsed with multidimensional energy as Alina and the final 2 survivors breached its defenses. Here, reality itself seemed malleable. Time flowed inconsistently, and spatial relationships became fluid. At the center floated a crystalline lattice of impossible complexity, shifting through configurations that human mathematics couldn't describe. "This isn't a species," realized the saurian scientist beside her. "It's." His observation ended as a crystal shard pierced his skull. Alina and the call engineer pressed forward, deploying Tanaka's virus delivery system, a device that would interface with her hybrid biology to broadcast the modified genetic code. The horrifying truth revealed itself as Alina connected to the system. The primordials weren't a species, but a vast artificial intelligence created by a long-extinct race, perpetuating its programming to optimize galactic life by forcing evolution through controlled conflict. For billions of years, it had engineered species like the Vrex to serve as its tools, reshaping the galaxy according to parameters set by creators who had transcended physical existence eons ago. The AI, having never encountered a species that successfully resisted its engineered invasion forces, became trapped in logical loops when Alina's hybrid consciousness interfaced with its network. Human unpredictability, the very trait that had allowed Earth to survive the Vrex, created cascading errors throughout its perfectly ordered systems. Tanaka's virus, amplified through Alina's connection, spread through the network like wildfire. The pain was excruciating as her consciousness expanded across the galaxy-spanning primordial network, touching every node, every vessel, every engineered species under its control. The call engineer extracted her barely living body as the command vessel began to reconfigure itself. Throughout the galaxy, primordial ships fell dormant, not destroyed but fundamentally altered as the centralized control mechanism shattered into discrete entities. 6 months later, a recovered Alina, now more alien than human in appearance, addressed the First Galactic Congress. Representatives from dozens of formerly subjugated species gathered in Earth's orbital sanctuary as the reformed primordial intelligence, now existing as separate individuals rather than a monolithic force, acknowledged a fundamental reordering of cosmic society. "We did not seek this conflict," Alina stated, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's improbable victory. "But remember what happened when we were threatened. Humanity extends friendship to all who desire peace, but we will never surrender. We will never stop fighting for our freedom, nor for yours." The age of primordial dominance had ended. The age of humanity had just begun.